Welcome to Business Prowess with Rafael and Dr. Andrea. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifu Rafael is the founder of 5 Unique Shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller is an award-winning international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity, Publishing, and Talent Agency, and CEO of IgniteYourRelationship.com. Known as the Dream Maker, she makes visionaries' dreams come true, bigger than they ever dare to desire.
Good morning, Dr. Andrea. How are you this beautiful Friday?
Well, I am hunky-dory. 4 weeks displaced after the drunk driver hit our house, but we're figuring it all out and still smiling and moving on.
I like the smiling and moving on thing because we can't live in the past, right?
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for today. I got to tell you, we have Dr. Fred, and he is just a phenomenal human being. He was, I think we did some things a while ago, but now he's back in my world, and I'm excited for that. So let's go ahead and bring him back in.
Please.
Wow.
Dr. Fred.
Short and great introduction. Nice to see you too. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't go into crazy introductions because people get to know you the more you speak. So this is why we're excited to have you. And the topic today is finding your true voice. Wow. That's going to be a powerful topic.
Well, it is particularly interesting because, Sifu said, "Oh, of course, Andrea always knows everybody." I don't know Fred directly, but I know Fred, and I believe we might have been in the same space at some point in our lives, but didn't have the chance to talk or meet. But here, what Dr. Fred, what you just did with speaking and learning more about, like you already were a speaker, but now that you're speaking more and did the training with Dan Clark about how to tell stories even better, that definitely to me goes along with finding your voice as well. So I'm excited to hear you share more about yourself and the welcome to humanity and what that's all about.
Super cool. Yeah, I'm eager to unload and eager to unfold and eager to converse and connect.
Well, great. Yeah. So when it comes to finding your true voice, Dr. Fred, what shows up for you? What is like, ooh, I got to talk about this.
Yeah. So it is the name of my second book. Was called Find Your True Voice. So I supposedly have something to say about this. And what's interesting is, we were programmed and taught very young how to pretend to be someone that we're not in order to protect the person that we are. Like, that's how it all went down. And that happened very early on. It happened probably, at the very latest, it happened in kindergarten, but more than likely it happened at home before kindergarten. But if you can remember, in kindergarten, while you were just free and easy and exploring and, adventurizing and like making life work for you, you were told so often to sit down and be quiet and just, mind your own self and don't speak what you want, speak when I tell you to, and don't say what you want, say what I want you to. So in that process, we got programmed to actually become somebody that we're not. And it's not anything to be ashamed of, actually. It's how we were programmed. And when we start looking at that, we start seeing that almost all of us, we have a persona. I'd say all of us, actually. I'm just trying to be kind, but I don't know anybody who doesn't meet the criteria of that, having a persona that we then have to either choose to live into or contrast with. So we have, we came out this way. When you lead the show with your accolades, the reason we lead with our accolades is we want you to think of something about us based on the things that we've done, right? Based on different achievements or different awards or accolades that we've gotten. Because there's a persona that comes with that. I'm a doctor, and you're like, oh, he's a doctor, or, same thing with you, Andrea, or with Sifu, that you're in the personal training world or whatever else is going on. And you're scraping the ceiling in so many areas. And that comes with a persona. It comes with me now thinking differently of you, or with the audience thinking differently than if you would have just said, he lives on State Street in the middle of Centerville. It would be like, okay, well, so what? Even though you would be the same person, and you may in fact live on State Street in the Centerville. It's interesting, but you choose to put up those things that are extreme because it gives you a sense of a persona. And frankly, it's not the person who you are. Those things that we walk around with, our accolades, they're not the people we are. We're much closer to just being another human, bumbling, stumbling, fumbling, tumbling through the world without any kind of recipe book or instruction manual. And if we really just give ourselves that kind of grace to simply be who we are, there's a great peace waiting for us there, instead of growing into all the different personas that we've developed over time that help us, frankly, not be our true voice.
Oh my gosh, I got to tell you, I am loving what you just said, because both Dr. Andrea and I, myself, we've been with so many celebrities, right? But for me, I don't get all like, oh my God, you're a celebrity. You just have a different set of skills than I have. That's all. So you know better than I am, and I'm no better than you are. We all have different skills, and it's how we use them to show up for others, right? But most importantly, we need to show up for ourselves. And so when you were talking about Dr. Fred being a speaker, yes, he's going to be speaking at New York City Experience in Atlanta come September 25th through 27th. So yes, and it's the skills that sets you up as a speaker, right? It's the skills that set you up as an actor, as a musician, as a basketball player, football player. It's the skills that set you up differently, and it's the ones you hone in on that really define who you show up outside. But when you're home, who are you?
Yeah. Who are you when no one's looking? That famous question, right? And I'll tell you, I'm noticing something inside of the, inside of the context of the actual podcast itself, the actual interview, is in the business world. It seems that I want to remind myself of my roots. I somehow am not eager to explode into. I have so many pregnant verticals. We'll call them pregnant verticals, right? I have so many of them that are 8 months pregnant. And there's something about that last month, because I know as I trip the trigger into this next ready-made turnkey opportunity, whatever that should be, a persona needs to show up with that. As soon as I become a CEO, as soon as I become a business owner, as soon as I become a movement maker, as soon as I become a keynote speaker, there's a persona that actually naturally comes along with that, that even if I dare, threatens to pull me away from my true and honest, core, authentic, genuine self. Like, it's possible that that's one of the traumas. Like, I don't want to be a superstar, because then it moves me away from my friends. It moves me away from where I really grew up, even if I am a superstar, or, I use that word loosely. I don't mean to use it in any kind of self-aggrandizing way. I think all of us have opportunities to be superstars. There's something about being a superstar that is disruptive, right? That moves me further away from this bumbling, tumbling, fumbling, stumbling core self.
Mm.
So one of the things I found my whole life is I was always, as a child, I was always looking for an opportunity to have a voice. I wasn't finding it. It was finding space to have one, because I grew up with a dad who kind of controlled how things were. And, it was funny because I was told to shut up, that I didn't have anything important to say. And, now I get paid to speak, which is, certainly a difference in the world. And along the way, I always thought I had found who I really was. And then I call it getting it. So when you think you get it and then you find out later you didn't actually get it, you thought you got it, but now you get it. And and along the way, I'm consistently finding my voice and a new way of showing up. Uh, and age has been one of the things that's been wonderful, is because I care less what other people think. Because not that I don't take into, like, I hear them, I'm listening, their opinion, but then I'm able to choose what story I want to keep and what story I want to recreate and what story that I like of my own better. and the, and so I get to show up and be myself with my voice, with less restrictions from other people, and that has been a really beautiful thing. And of course, I give all the kudos to all the training I've had with rewiring the brain and the mind and so forth. And Dr. Fred, tell me about your what does doctor come from? Doctor of medicine, doctor of academics, and what's your specialty?
So yeah, I graduated medical school in 1988. I am a doctor and medical doctor. I am conventionally trained as a psychiatrist. I did a residency in general psychiatry and a fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry. And that's where the word doctor comes from. But the word doctor, as you poke at it now, as we both have put it, both have the audacity or the willingness to put it on our names such that it shows up as our first word ahead of our name, on right there on our rectangle in this call. There's some sort of something that comes with having, we'll say, earned or been blessed or maybe even been cursed with this word doctor in front of our name, as if we got something to say because we're a doctor, as if, that specific accolade in and of itself gives me credibility that you should then be eager to speak to what it is I have to say about life. It's pretty interesting. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, well, you did. You went to school for 8 years and you did a residency and you had to have good grades and you had to learn a premium trade. Well, maybe. I'll tell you what, 8 years in medical school and residency didn't teach me how to be better with people. I want to be better with people. The idea that I can answer a bunch of multiple choice questions, most of them correct, that doesn't make me a better person. It just doesn't. But that's what it took to get through the doctor's school. And that was a primary skill to have right there. Answer a lot of multiple choice questions correctly. That for me is not a skill set that necessarily leads to being a person worth listening to. It's a
Yeah,
persona.
I only started using doctor. I'm an academic doctor, and I have 3 PhDs. And it was only after I helped somebody else get their degree and did a lot of the work for it to create it, to make it happen, and then they called themselves doctor, and I was like, wait a minute. Why am I not allowing myself to have the name that I earned, that I did, and utilize it when I do have that knowledge and that information, and the other person, that I did a lot of work for, was so grandiose in using it. I'm like, wait a minute, the skills are not not playing right. And I always never took celebration in the things that I did. Like, I refused to walk for my master's and my PhD, because to me it was a waste of time. I got what I needed. I wanted the knowledge, not the pomp and circumstance. So, but then afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I not allowed to celebrate that I spent a lot of money earning this and a lot of time and effort? So that's when I started using it, and I am proud of it now, where I didn't take pride in it before, and I'm glad I did the work. So.
Yeah, it's interesting as you speak, Andrea. There's just oddly enough, I I maybe having lived with the name doctor for 37 years plus the years before I was actually a doctor when I thought I was one already anyways. That I'm at the stage where I would like the opportunity to lose that as my front name. Just become Fred Moss again. Oh my God, what a dream that would be. So yes, indeed, I share what you're saying about wear it proud, be who you earned it. Why should other people have it and you don't? I know how that works. And there's another part of me that sees life's graduation as just being Fred. Like, take that damn name out from underneath me. Even though, go ahead and, I mean, the only reason one of the reasons I suppose that I make it to hobnobbing and rubbing elbows with, with other people who have made a difference in the world has to do with that word doctor in front of my name. That it's a leash, it's a I don't know, a suit I get to wear that gives me natural invites into rooms that without, if I'm just Fred Moss living here with my 3 cats and, on Main Street in Centerville, then I probably don't make it on the show, actually.
I got to tell you.
What are your thoughts on this? I'm hearing us both talk.
I'm loving this because everybody has a title, right? Some have gone to school for it. And so I said, my title is Sifu. And for me to really be known in the community that I've created, I said, I'm going to come out and be Sifu. So for me, it was a branding situation. I've been called Sifu since over 30 years, right? Because Sifu means teacher in Chinese. So I've been doing martial arts for 51 years. And so for me to take the title of helping someone, so for me, I see Sifu as a helper, somebody who's teaching somebody something, somebody who cares about someone else, who sees their progress as something important. And it's not about me, but I said, in order to differentiate myself in the world of podcasting, in the world of social media, let me put Sifu, which is my title, with my name, which is Rafael, and let that be one that people will know me for. Because it's very interesting. I have a new client who I just got, and he said to me, I didn't know who you were till I Googled you. He goes, oh my gosh, you're everywhere. But if I had put just Rafael and he would have looked up Rafael, who knows what would have come up. But he looked up Sifu, and then he goes, then he went deeper and looked up the name Sifu. What does that mean? And it gave him a deeper insight. And the other day he gave me a recommendation, and he goes, that I live by the name Sifu, that I portray it for what it truly is. Somebody who is guiding someone, somebody who's helping. So for me, putting a title before my name only made sense so I would differentiate myself from others. Now, the word Sifu does not get me into special rooms. It's my actions that do. It's the connections I create. The fact that I know you both doctors here, right? Now, a lot of times somebody has said to me, you should go get your doctorate. I'm like, well, consider it. But I don't know if that's my right calling at this time, because I'm doing so many different things, right?
Makes sense.
But for me, it's just speaking to anyone. And like I said before, openly and freely, because finding your true voice is knowing who you are. And I found my true voice many times. First, when I came to this country, I didn't know the language, but in my head, I'm Colombian. I came from Colombia. I spoke Spanish. So in my head, Nobody told me they spoke a different language here in the US. And I get here and I'm like, I don't understand anybody. So all of a sudden, I had no voice, zero. Nobody understood me and I didn't understand them. So I had to relearn how to have a voice. The word the, didn't come out well. So there was a second grade teacher who actually spent time with me and taught me how to communicate better. So communication has been the biggest vehicle for me. And about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I lost my voice when I was about to walk into church. Somebody said good morning to me and I was about to respond. I was like, well, I didn't expect not to have a voice. It was gone. So for a whole week, I didn't have a voice. But it taught me something else, which is I love doing all along, is listening. Because when I came to this country, all I could do to learn was listen. So again, it taught me, maybe God said, hey, I'm going to take your voice away so you can shut up and listen. And so for that whole week, I listened and I learned so much. And I love listening.
Profound, really profound, and I deeply appreciate it. And I, as you speak, this idea of listening being the key ingredient to finding your true voice is a super interesting concept. Like that is the premier half of communication, not just to wait until you're talking again, but to actually listen, not to continually set up, what am I going to say when it's my turn? And so listening becomes such a key piece of allowing myself to be at least exploring what it is to be aligned with my true voice, my actions, my thoughts, and my words actually aligned with each other. How does that work? And, when I can do that, when I can even fly by that, right? Because sometimes it's just, sometimes it is just a flyer, just fly by. Like for a moment, I ring the bell and then I'm off again. There's something inside of what you're describing, Sifu, that I don't remember thinking of when I wrote the book or when I've looked at this before. But it's actually making a profound difference in how I've looked at this topic, which I've, taken on professionally before. Is I always say that our true voice it's been with you the whole time. It's here. It's been the whole time. Like the stuff you remember when you were 2, nothing else in your whole body exists that was there when you were 2. There's no cell in your body that was there when you were 2, and yet you have a memory of what that was. And so what's holding those memories? What is it? What is that? What's that receptacle? And because there's really literally not a brain cell, not a body cell, not a blood cell. There's there's not a cell here that was there then. And yet we call ourselves that same person.
That's
So
a lovely way.
And so when you look back at that, I always I find myself pointing the arrow when people ask me about find your true voice towards what was there early on. That's what's here. You don't have to go out there to find your true voice is what I'm thinking. But Sifu, you open up a new door for me today in that I think based on your base knowledge or the base work of what you already know yourself to be, by becoming Sifu and then by being everywhere and by making the difference that you're making and grounding yourself in your listening and all of these pretty evolved activities, I dare say, you're making a case for finding your true self, finding your true voice out there in front of you. And I never have really put those two together, even though I wrote the book, that in fact I literally wrote the damn book. I mean, that's the title right there. And that there is a true self that's been here the whole time that we think we can honor and appreciate and use as our roots for our true voice. But in fact, you don't have to be the same guy you were yesterday. You really don't. You really, really don't. You get to create your true self into the future. And there's a true and honest, I find myself now interchanging the word self and voice, finding your true self and finding your true voice. But I'm not sure there's a distinction, but there's something about, like, is my true voice in front of me? My true self is in front of me. How I get to display myself today, who I get to say, what I get to say to, that's in front of me. But am I really honoring my true voice? What is, and I get to look in front of me and behind me to create the conglomerate I can say is my true self or my true voice.
Interesting. Earlier when you were talking about how
I have a feeling she's in deep thought. So
my internet must have seen a new satellite. So now I'm my true self. I wasn't before. Now I am. No,
you thought you were.
I wasn't. Now here I am again. When you were talking about how Dr. Fred allowed you to go into new doors and allowed you new opportunities. Mine was actually the opposite. People always have known me just as Andrea, and it was being just who I was allowed me the opportunity to show up and be in different rooms and different doors. And it was interesting is when I added Andrea to it, there was a lot of resistance I had from other people. They were like, well, you're Andrea, you're not this. And I'm like, I'm still Andrea. I just have the name doctor in front of it. It's not a thing. It doesn't have to. It was funny because other people made it a story more than me making it a story. So I just like the ringer sound of it. And I'm like, yeah, I learned this stuff. I'm like, let's add it. And it was, I had some people embraced it and other people, it fought them or whatever. But as far as the rooms and opportunities that I have, I found it no different whether I had doctor there or not. Cause I still, without the doctorate, I spoke at grand rounds. I did all these things. I spoke to 2 doctors. I spoke at regular medical conferences. I spoke at science conferences. So it was just, I was interested to hear you say that. Cause I'm like, wow, my experience was exactly the opposite. And I recently met another physician, doctor, he was OBGYN, who we didn't know he was a doctor until he told us, because he just literally retired and dropped doctor. And now he's just his first name. And how simple it was for him to just drop that and not be that anymore. So I almost teased. I was going to say, well, Sifu has the power right here. He can just make you just Fred. He can change your name on here. Then you're just, you can be whoever you want. But to me, you're still going to be Fred, whether you're Dr. Fred or Fred. You're just the guy that's showing up here for us and how you present and show. And I also realized that as we go through life, who we think we are changes. The things that are important to us change. Now, there's some basic tenets that have stayed the same. But I noticed that there's been a change, things and how I used to be and things now I'm apologetic for, and how I was maybe a parent then to how I grandparent now, and how I deal with stress today compared to how I dealt with stress 30 years ago. It's a new person, and not everybody follows that line, sometimes keep you in the story of what you were then. And even though you're not that person anymore, maybe you never were that person to begin with. You just showed up like it.
Well, I love what both of you are saying, because when you talked about your cells are not the same, or think about it, every 10 years, we're a new person entirely, right? Because our cells have changed and we get rid of them and we grow new ones. This is maybe why we're getting better every day. And Dr. Fred, you can tell us about that, because you're the one that brought that up, right? About how we're not the same we were when we were 2 years old, or even 10, 12 years ago. We're not the same. We may have the same skeleton, but our cells in our hands, in our face, everything changes. And it's incredible when we can think about the body refreshing itself consistently. So is it that we use our mind to remember who we were, to remember everything that's happened, or sometimes we even forget things, and people are the ones that remind us because they recall something you might have done, something you might have said, or there may be pictures and you're like, I don't remember that picture. Oh, wow, now I remember the picture. Now I remember the instance. I remember the occurrence. I remember the event. And so a lot of times it's triggers that remind us of things. And I love, sometimes I could be walking somewhere and somebody I don't even know will say a word, and all of a sudden a memory will come back of that place. A trigger is anything, and we all know it could be a smell, it could be a sound, it could be a sight. And so how do we redefine who we want to be if we're not aware of where we've been?
How do we define who we want to be if we're not aware of where we've been? So thanks for taking us down this road. Here, what do you think of this? You say we have the same skeleton. No, we don't.
That changes too, huh?
There's no part of your skeleton that was here there's 0 parts of your skeleton that were here when you were 12 years ago or when you were 2. None, not a piece, not one piece.
Wow. It's incredible.
Not one piece. And if that's the case, because it is, where's that mind live that you're talking about that has to remember stuff and forget stuff and be reminded by other people? Where's that thing hang out? What is that thing? What is this thing that we don't need our body because we got our mind to remind us. Well, where the hell is that? Show me that. And we see again, it's very interesting, right? It's very interesting when you start seeing how nebulous our definition is of this thing called mind that we share with each other, because I think it's probably likely that when you say the word mind, all of us think we know what you're talking about. We got one too. Yeah, I got one, you got one, you got one. We all got one. And, and we think we understand what a mind is at all in looking at, true voice or being honest and genuine and authentic to your true self. Where does that reside? What the hell is that thing? What are you talking about? And yet there's a resonance there. I understood I feel like I understood. I could resonate with you while you were speaking, but what is this thing that's resonating with you? I can't point to it.
So where do memories live?
That's a really great question. That's kind of what I'm asking. Exactly. And if we're going to lean on those things to define who we've been, so that if we can't recall where we were, how are we going to move forward? If we're going to use this tool of memory to be so critical in designing who we are now becoming, and where we get to learn, where we don't have to, that's why we get better every day, like you said, it's because we learn. Where does that live?
So I wanted to address that. So it's my understanding that our cortical neurons, that's the neurons that we're born with, actually can live like 70 to 100 years or whatever. And that the hippocampus makes new ones. So that's why some people who've had damage or certain with age, they can remember new memories, but they can't remember old memories, or their old memories have been there longer. So they have other opportunities to retain them. And when I do this to my head, I've always considered the brain like a card catalog at the library. So in the library, if you open up a card that says cat, it might say, cat, cougar, and then you say, oh, cougar is a cat that does this, but it also is a woman who is older than young men or whatever. And then you go, oh, that's in this file over here for dating, and where, so it makes you think of another thing, and a cat or a purr can mean something else. And the other inappropriate word for cat when they're talking about body parts, oh, that's in this file over here. And if you say it differently or word it differently or look it up differently, it can be the drawer can come out. So like maybe you don't remember the word cat, but if I say, oh, el gato, oh, that's a Spanish word for cat. Oh, it's in this file over here. And you can get to the memory a different way, even though you may not be able to recall it instantly. I also, so I don't know how many of the hippocampus area stays the same, but I do know that some stays the same, and then we grow new ones there. But for cortical neurons, it's my understanding that we have those from birth and we don't create new ones, although we create new directions to get to them. And then sometimes those are severed and then we can't get to them anymore. So, so those are the only ones I know, or I've read that they do, those select neurons stay, which I don't know how they get to stay and the other ones die off and get replaced like that. That I don't know. And I'm not even for sure that what I've read is accurate. Because I haven't read studies on that specifically for a very long time. And then how, what I do know about the brain is, we delete and distort, and that's, that's what I was just saying. Like, if I don't like somebody's opinion of me, I just change it. Like, I'm like, did they say, oh, did they say I was really, really pretty? That's what I heard. Whatever they said. I don't know what they said, but I'm just going to take it as a compliment instead, because that just sounds like a better thing to hear. So I sometimes distort negatives because I want to make them fit the way I think in my world.
Well, I took the opportunity after you spoke to ask the technology about this idea of cells in the human body that live a whole life. And there are some classes of cells that are stated to live a whole life, like you're talking about. So there's the brain neurons, the eye lens cells, the inner ear hair cells, and the corneal endothelium are cells that are thought to be with you an entire life. So consider me corrected. It's awesome.
Very few, though. I mean, look how little there is.
Very few.
A friend of mine, it's called the mind-eye connection. I met them just about COVID starting, or I already knew her, but I knew more about their business about that time. And I learned so much about the eye. So when you mentioned that about the cornea and what was the other part of the eye, they say through the eye, we have 5 different nerves that go through our eyes. So even if you're blind, there's things with how you sense and how you hear that are through the eye, even if you have no sight. And so they communicate with glasses differently with the brain than just seeing. In fact, they had a thing that was going to be no 2020 and 2020. But then the COVID thing was all happening, so that they didn't get to go on that campaign. But 2020 is
deep in thought again.
She's in thought. So I like the fact that she brought up 2020, because at the beginning of 2020, I created a post and it had glasses and it says, now we may be able to see things a little clearer in 2020. And what 2020 really brought to us was the clarity of how we behave as a species. And I'll defer back to you, Dr. Andrea, now that you're back.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for saying that. It's just been very interesting. So I learned through glasses and prisms and color in glasses, it changed my hearing because I have an auditory processing disorder. So I hear better when I have the glasses on. And I learned that people who have had head trauma, by putting glasses on that have different prisms in them, can stand and walk. The second the glasses are off their face, they trip and fall, or can't even, their gait is like all wobbly and crazy. So there's much more information that comes through our eyes to help our brains perceive our world, even when you're blind. So it's totally cool. Totally
That
cool.
is cool.
Interesting.
That is
I
cool.
had a client of mine recently said, I didn't hear what you said. Hang on a minute. He put his glasses on.
That's
And I
cool.
was like, what? He goes, now I see and hear you. I'm like, oh, perfect. All right, let's keep this conversation going.
Well,
That's
it's
It was
why
very
people turn
interesting.
down the radio when they're driving, and why cars, you can have the auto that the music goes lower when you slow down so that people
Yeah.
can see how to park, especially when they're backing. They often have to have the music off, or complicated directions. They turn the music off to be able to drive.
Yeah, this eyes and ears don't maintain themselves in their own lane very well. They don't play they work together in deep ways.
Yeah.
This and we consider both of those organs to be the primary organs of communication, but they're not necessarily alone in that process, in fact. So much gets done when the eyes and the ears are not being engaged inside of the world of communication as well, that we kind of overlook. So we think we speak and listen, and we think we speak, listen, and see, and that's good enough. And it's communication is embedded in a level of frequency that far exceeds those 3x in even how they interrelate with each other.
Yeah, it's our then the perception of the other person on how they think that what we just said is what we said, and it's not
Yeah.
what we said. And even stuff like this on video, because like sometimes I'll look at something, it'll catch my eye. Sometimes if I'm following the chat that comes with it, I'll see it and I'll look over here. Or if I'm curious about something and I've looked it up, I might look here. And then I've had people say, oh, it looked like you were not being very respectful of what that person was saying. I said, oh no, I was listening to them so deeply that I wanted to know more information about what they were saying. So I wanted to check something, or I wanted to be able to follow up with them. So I'm making a mental note. And so their perception was actually that I was less interested. I'm like, no, I'm actually more interested. So I wanted to make sure I copied their information, or I texted them, or, or sometimes it was, the management of the system, but other people's perception of what we're doing. I mean, if you look at the news now and with videos, we only see a video of this, and we don't see what was happening over here and what's happening, over here, or even the view from this side or this side. So we form opinions on whether someone was hit, hurt, misabused, didn't have their rights, taken care of, when maybe from the other view they did, and that's both, not just visual, but our perception of how like law is written, and how the world, what is appropriate and not appropriate.
Yeah.
Dr. Fred, when did your book come out, Finding Your True Voice?
Let's see.
A year ago?
No. 4 or 5 years ago, 2022. It was after 2020.
Gotcha. So I'm wondering if, from the conversation that we're having today, if you went and reread your book,
yeah,
would you say, oh, now I gotta do version 2 because my perception,
a million percent, bro. Of course.
Everything has changed.
Well, I love the question, Sifu. So that comes from somebody who's written a book. You can only ask that question if you've actually gone through the experience of writing a book, because look, I spent so much time writing that book, making sure that it was going to be a book. Like, so much of my energy was being coached into the creation of a book. Like, so much of it was like learning how to bowl or something. I wasn't worried about my score. I didn't have anything to do about finesse. It was a matter of, how do you bowl? How do I write a book? And so the title was given to me by all my friends, because that's what I was doing with my life, is helping people find their true voice. So you should write a book on that. So, okay, I'll write a book on that. And then it manifested. I had this Australian team that I was working with. They were so good. interviewing me and then taking down the information and putting it in the spaces that made sense. It was so good. It was such a comforting, caring experience. And then when it was done, I like read it. Like, imagine reading the book that you wrote, and it's like far-fetched idea of reading the book that you wrote. And instead of just putting together piecemeal and sending it. And I read it and it's like, wow, did I really write this? And it was sort of missing, as I look back on it, it's missing my present soul.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is based on where I was when I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not reverberating with the conversation that the three of us are having this morning necessarily. It's much more, grassroots.
It's interesting if we wait to write a book and then change it as we grow and have more wisdom, the book would never be done. So I always say the book that you did was excellent in the moment that it was done, and it's excellent now, especially for people who maybe this depth or even the grassroots of it, how you worded it, would be too much for them. Like, so what it is and how it was perfect. And then so I hear Sifu saying that maybe there's an opportunity for you to have a second book or a second.
No. My memoir is just finished yesterday. I'm in double proof of his 59,000 word document that's been a full manuscript that is dropped everywhere, and there's a whole lead team. And I just wrote a 39 story, 27 chapter memoir, and it's called Welcome to Humanity, a psychiatrist's case against the mental health system. And it's freaking good. It's like,
congratulations.
It's like dead serious. And my wife's up here. My wife is ripping it up these days. She's the final editor. I turned it in and it was like, I should probably read that thing. I'm like, honey. No. So she's now reading it, and like every 2 pages, she's dropping a comment into the manuscript of something that has to alter before I finally get it to KDP, because it's time to go. Let's get this thing right.
Good. Well, congratulations on that. That sounds something I'd be interested in, because that was the reason I wanted to be a psychologist or psychiatrist, and I chose not to continue because the DSM at that time, had limitations where if someone was gay, they were deviant, and I had gay friends who were not acting out on their behaviors because they were so afraid of being deviant. So I'm like, no, these people aren't deviant because they're the opposite. They're acting the opposite of what the DSM says they are now. Of course, tells you how old I am and how many DSMs ago, but that's why I didn't.
It's gotten much, the concept has gotten much worse, much worse than that. It's not just about, now it's all you have to do is be human and you're sick.
Yeah. I got to tell you, what an incredible conversation, and I wish we could keep going, but it is time to wrap up. Dr. Fred, please come back. I know you're going to be on my other shows, and the conversation is just going to get deeper and deeper. So thank you. Do us a favor, right? Tell everybody you have your information going across the screen. Why should somebody reach out to you?
I don't know. I'm not sure anyone should reach out to me, but if you feel, if something I said or did, I hear sometimes that something I said or did, or how I represent people, how I represent myself, can be useful to others. I don't know what you would see and why you should call me. I don't know. I can help you, of course. I don't know. Maybe I can direct you. Maybe I can listen to you, for sure. And ultimately, that's where healing comes from, is that human connection. Getting a true taste of what human connection is, you can expect that. And, if that's something you want and see the value and the explosive opportunity to heal through human connection, I'm eager to have a game with people and that takes that into consideration. So that would be one reason to call me.
Tell us the website. It's going across the screen.
Say that, you kind of broke up. Try me again, Sifu.
Say the website. It's going across the screen.
Right. So the website, I have 2 websites here. They're both front facing. I have a pretty slick website that Dr. Andrea talked about. The drfred360.com site is cool. There's also everything I've ever done is in there, and you can contact me or set up a discovery call right there. And then the more front facing one, which is the newest and coolest one, is whoisdrfred.com. So my team, actually from the same Salt Lake City squad, helped me put together this very cool front-facing website that I recently had people actually reach out to me and tell me it was the coolest website they've ever seen. I'm like, oh, I didn't know I had that. That's so good.
What a compliment. That is very impressive.
Very cool. Very cool. Dr. Andrea, your turn.
Yeah. So I love to be able to play in the world with people who need somebody to have their back. So I'm an executive advisor for people who have businesses who've done this, done that, and they need somebody that they trust, that they can be very vulnerable and real with, to talk business, life, and any aspects of that, to be able to continue to live their legacy while they're still alive. And for other people who don't feel like they're at that level yet, I love doing breakthroughs for people where we sit down and find out what it is that you have going on in your life, that if you could just reframe it differently, how can you find the positive in it? So grief is no longer grief, but a celebration of life. And, stress and overwhelm is now, oh, well, let's see if we can put that in this box and that and that. Look how much we can accomplish and have done. And it's really fun that I get to help people rewire their brains. They do the rewiring. I just guide them along. And so if you've ever wanted to build a new electrical system in your brain, I get to help you do that without the surgery.
Absolutely. I'm easy to find. I'm Sifu Rafael, and it's sifurafael.com. And what do? I put people on stages. I create opportunities for people, because what I want to do is help people realize how amazing and beautiful they are, and how worthwhile they are, and how their story or their image or their idea is going to help the world. So let's connect. sifurafael.com. One favor I have for everybody who either listens to it now or listens to it on the replay is share the show with everybody that you know, because there was so many great moments that happened, and I think somebody else can benefit from this. So do us a favor, share it, because sharing is caring, right? All right, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Fred. An amazing pleasure, my friend.
Thank you.
Dr. Andrea, always a
great conversation. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.